Board committee reports? Is there operations?
Yeah, operations. So today we talked about fiscal years 17 and 18 and kind of broke down some of the requests. Now, right away, it's not complete. So there are quite a few things that we anticipate that will come up. But of them, naturally we have some athletic projects. We have some track, some items with the track that'll cost the district. I know there's some booster club and district allocated funds, with the wrestling room. Classroom requests, naturally with an extra third grade, we have some expense there as we're adding an additional section. So we'll have nothing out of the ordinary there. But we did, for facility improvements, renovation of rooms 150, 218, and 219, as well as adding cabinets and whatnot in the band room. Those are some of them that did come up. Some of the costly ones, naturally projectors came up, and this is just a summary. There's obviously quite a bit other things. K-5, the curriculum, naturally that's on the list, we know. One that's not on the list right now is the 612, although we know that's coming as well, that literacy. But so obviously there's going to be more money that needs to be allocated to that, but it's just hasn't been updated quite yet. So it's just kind of preliminary, I guess I'd say, in trying to identify needs, get everything that's necessary first, and then go to some of those more desirable things. Probably.
Do you have anything to add, Ron?
No. We're up to about 470 right now, 470,000. If you put it in perspective, last year when you look at all the capital, all the deferred maintenance, the budget that we put in place was about 700,000. So, but there is definitely more to come. When you think of the 612 and the literacy, the language arts, there's a few different in the fine arts. We still have food service, some of the equipment, and I think it will end up being probably closer. And then with some carpeting, flooring, so it'll be probably around 600,000. And even though we had 700,000 that we put in the initial budget this year, we delayed a couple of things, like the projectors and such, for 100,000. So currently we're about 500,000 that we've actually incurred on capital this year. So, but again, you have supplies. We had a couple of big projects that came at us this year that we did not anticipate, such as the dishwasher. You think of the over the summer when we had to replace the AC units up top. There was another 40 some thousand. So those things pop up. It's better to plan for. If you got 700,000, you think you may want to work with, to only plan for about 6, and knowing that you may need another 100,000 yet, because those things are going to happen. So lots of stuff going on. But I would anticipate my hope is that we will have all of the requests finalized as far as the full plan on capital, so that everybody can see the full capital plan before people leave for the summer and the summer break. Okay.
Moving on to 6.4, the superintendent report.
Just a few things. Again, we were waiting. All of you have been getting information from MSBA, MREA, as far as on the legislative session. I talked to Gary Amorosa this morning. He's the executive director with MASA, and he was at Capitol. He was there until about 1 o'clock this morning, and starting all over again. It's probably going to go to a special session again. I haven't heard if they've made any headway over the last few hours, but when I spoke with him at about 10, they still were, they didn't have the details yet, even on the tax bill, as far as whether the ag part, even though it had bilateral support, it was still, you just don't know what's happening with it. One thing that should be a high concern for the board, the pension. The pension plan did get a lot of support. But one of the issues, even though there is support to increase the rate to help stabilize it, the funding is not there to provide the funds from the state to offset the employer's share. So if all of a sudden the school districts take a 0.5%, if it ends up being that, you know, these 1.5% increases that they're talking about, all of a sudden you lose 0.5% right away back on the pension because of the increased costs. You know, that's not going to be very good when we're trying to do planning for this next year. So we'll have to see what happens out of it. Lots of moving parts still with it.
Is everybody on the board aware of what he's getting at with that? Because I know,
The TRA,
are you aware of what's going on with that, everybody?
both to stabilize it on TRA, both the employer and the employee share may be increasing. And if that happens, to stabilize it, you know, the hope has been from School Board Association, MREA, MASA, that the state would pick up the portion for the employer that would have to be increased if they phase in a 1% increase. But right now, it's not, the last we're hearing this morning is it wasn't looking good on that. And again, so if that happens, you know, when you start hearing these 1.5%, 2% increases potential, all of a sudden you lose 0.5% right back on those benefits. So we'll see what happens. You know, we'll be seeing updates coming, I'm sure, yet tonight and tomorrow morning. Chelsea in food service got an update. Had applied for Fuel Up to Play 60 school nutrition equipment grant, and that was associated with the middle school, the a la carte, for the breakfast a la carte. And we did get that. That is, it's not a matching grant. It's, believe it or not, it's not a matching. There's no strings attached. Okay, it's $5,000. We get $5,000 to purchase some equipment for the a la carte, which will be great because the kids are definitely using that. So that will be, we can go ahead with that ASAP. We went through the capital outlay. Sandy, hopefully you received something from MSBA regarding the school board self-evaluation. Is that something that, it's about 70 or 75 question self-survey, and then they'll give us all of the data back on the reflective piece on it? Is that something that the board wants to go ahead with? It's just something you'll get a username and password to go in and fill out the survey on your time, and then we'll get a report. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You'll get a summary report, and I think it will really help us for June when we're going to go into those work sessions. Okay? It's a brand new model that they just came out with, so I'll get a hold of them tomorrow and we'll go ahead with it. And couple other things, the Rural Minnesota Concentrated Employment Program Service Proposal. Got an email late last week that the RMCEP did get their funding. They did get their grant money. So the high school has had counseling services through this that's helped support keeping our costs down. And we will have that coming again. Their goal is to expand to the middle school, which goes really well for our college and career readiness components that we're looking for. So that is good news, and that will be in place for next year. And let's see, Infinitec Professional Development, we've already purchased that for this next year. We have, I will be going through that with the DLT. I met with some members, continuing, and what else not. I've gone through it now, looking. They have all of the components for teacher licensure, the specific areas that have to be done to get particular clock hours, mental health, the suicide awareness, the reading, the technology, EL, all of these things that are required for licensure are now available through this online process. And it's a good process. There's some very good online resources, video clips, and then associated quizzes that have to be done. And once you have a mastery level of 80% on the material, you get a certificate showing that you have that done, you've completed that, and that just needs to be turned in. So, point being, it's going to really help us with some of the training needs when we think about the non-certified with the paraprofessionals and people that are coming in mid-year, because now we can assign some of those components right when they're coming in and not have to worry about that they weren't here for the fall workshop. So it has for every one of those areas. The total cost of the district is about $1,500 for all of our staff being able to have that. And so when you look at the idea of $1,500, we have, somewhere 170, 180 full-time employees to be able to have that coverage for all of our employees to have that professional development. That is unbelievably reasonable for it. So, good thing. And I'm waiting on word on some potential professional development opportunities that will be for some of the district leadership. But I will keep the board, I'll know more in the next 2 to 3 days, some potential opportunities with the national, the AASA, the national component of the Association of School Administrators, a potential on culture and climate work. So I'm very excited about that, but I'll get word on that, like I said, this week, and you'll get some correspondence from me on that if that goes the way I think it may go. So that's it.
We will move on to 7.1, the approval of the May 8th regular meeting minutes.
So
Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
second.
By Bobby. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Moving on to 8.1, related business under the consent agenda. Approval of the bills for May.
Total bills to be approved, $182,826.94.
In the packet is the treasurer's report, fund total report, administrative liquid asset account, activity report, donations, still coming in from first Prom, some for summer rec. Again, first Prom. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.1, board policies. This is the second reading for the following policies: 522, 524, 529, 530, 530 the form for immunization, 532, in 533.
So moved.
Motion by Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Amy, second?
Second.
She beat you. Sorry.
Race.
Any questions? Okay, hearing no questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This 9.2 is the extended school year contract. This is for, and Brian had clarified, I knew there was a reason why, that a person's name is listed twice and it just shows where they are, and it needs to be documented that.
Makes sense for
Yep.
everyone?
Mhm.
Good.
So we have Carrie Krebs, Samantha Full, Darla Hennon, Morgan Dossel, Kristen Peters, Heidi Hunter, Samantha Full, Allison Krogstead, Brittany Bickelstaff, Miranda Brown, Nicole Garrett, Ashley Marquardt, Melanie Christopherson, and those are the people that are for the extended school year. Do I have a motion to approve their contracts?
So moved.
Motion by Lindsay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bobby. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. 9.3, this is the milk bids.
And the recommendation is stay with Land Lakes. And they're cheaper.
So moved.
Motion by Scott, for a second. I'll second. Okay, and just go on to Lakes.
Yes.
Correct.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. 9.4, bread bids. And this is for Tony Boy.
Oh, mega switch.
Oh. Rainbow Wilkins.
What's up?
It's a different name. I'd say.
Okay, so there's, recommendation is for changing this year for Bimbo Bakeries. So, yeah, I don't know, I think I changed that name, but anyway. Do I have a motion to approve the bread bid for Bimbo's?
Say that fast 3 times, Sandy.
Beanbo?
Bimbo?
Yes, my wife actually used to work for
I'm
him.
sorry, then I really apologize to you. Seriously, okay.
I'll move that one then.
Okay,
I watched
sorry.
myself.
Okay, so there's a second, do I have, or that's a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, okay, no more discussion on that, so all those in favor say aye. All right.
Thanks, Raleigh.
There we
Getting
go.
that out.
It's true.
Well, that's good. Okay, 9.5, we're moving on to the meal prices, and this is an increase of the cost for breakfasts and lunches. And this comes from to us from USDA. It's not something that we create every year. This is a requirement so we can get reimbursed for those meals. So, looking at the elementary breakfast, at 110, elementary lunch 240. Secondary breakfast 110 and secondary lunch 250. Adult breakfast 260, adult lunch 370. The extra entree for breakfast 125 and extra lunch 145. Reduced breakfast is free and the reduced lunch is also free. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Lindsay, and is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bobby. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.6, to approve the contract for Marquette, Aulia, Planning Development Elementary.
Margot.
Margot, is that how you actually say it?
Yep, Margot.
Okay. And I served on that committee. I will just tell you, we took a very long time on that. We asked our administrators to go through all of the contracts They took a lot of time, went through all of those contracts. There were some that didn't meet their criteria right away. They brought those forward to us. We looked at the ones that they recommended to us. We didn't discuss, we looked at what they were. We came up with the 3 that we wanted to interview. We had the interviewing process that was open to public. Anybody could have came in and sat on that interview. Again, we were there till after 11 o'clock discussing that. We looked at all of the requirements that we feel is needed. And that isn't saying we don't think somebody is great. I mean, it was a hard decision, but I will push for the approval, and I make a motion to approve the contract for Margot Elliott.
And being not part of the screening process, I think, Amy was the other with that. I was asked to be part of the interview process. And when we looked at those, we looked at competencies, administrative competencies. We had people from the district site leadership team that were present, and they did identify criteria that was, needed in there. So as we looked at those, it was pretty clear, I think, to all people that evaluated who scored the highest. So that was the person that we pushed forward. But I agree, like I said, she was, in terms of not having a license, we hire teachers all the time without licenses. What I look at is based on the interview, I think the best person was selected based on the interview and the competencies. So whether somebody's completed all their coursework and they're waiting for the state to get their license, I get that. I was in that position too, having an admin license. I had opportunities to interview. I didn't have my license, but I completed the coursework. Now, if they were finishing this summer, I think that would be a little different, but I'm going to second it, being part of that process.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Yep, wrong. Okay. Moving on to 9.7, the tentative class list of the TGF graduates. And I told Brian that as a mom, I don't have anybody this year, but as a mom, I'd always look for my kids' name and go, okay, good. They're on there, so it is there. They actually, it's a good feeling when you see your child's name on that list. So, do we have any questions on that? All right, so all those in favor, I need a motion to approve the graduate list as presented. So, by Amy, is there a second?
Second.
By Lindsay. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 9.8, the continuing contact status. And that is also in your packet. So do we have a motion to approve the list of the certified staff members who will be attaining?
So moved.
With it. Scott? For a second?
Second.
Bobby? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Moving on to 10.1, the Fire and Emergency Medical Services Appreciation Day, which will be May 26th. National Emergency Medical Services Week, and all staff, students, and community members are encouraged to wear red on May 26th in support of the fire and emergency medical personnel. Motion to approve the proclamation.
So moved.
Is that Bobby? Yep. And I have a second.
Second.
Hi, Lindsay. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Moving on to 11.1, the next school board meeting is out in Felton, at the community center, on June 12th. And I attended a post-prom, I'm gonna just put this out there, as I read all those donations. I attended a post-prom meeting after the prom, and discussed recommendations for the post-prom committee for next year. We had made a recommendation, and what they do with our recommendation, whatever, but, so next year's junior parents, we made a recommendation that they would not be seeking any donations from any businesses for any post-prom things. We looked at whatever the dollar amount that we raised, doing gift cards for everyone in attendance, having main prizes for juniors and seniors, strictly DGF people, no guests, no under 11th grade classmen, and so that's what we bought for them. So that was our recommendation, and like I said, whatever the junior class parents of next year do with that recommendation, but just so you know that that is what we came up with. So, is there anything else?
Do we have a work group meeting in June?
Do we have a date on that?
We don't have a date yet. We're waiting to finalize MSBA and everybody else is. We're trying to get through the legislative session as soon as that gets done. But by the end of the week, hopefully we'll have, because we're trying to coordinate Moorhead, Ogden Lake Park and some of that. And the facilities one, we really can't do anything until we know it comes out of the legislative session too.
And then is there a policy next?
No, we're gonna wait until after graduation.
Yeah, June 5th would be the next Monday. Do we
Yep.
want to plan for that?
I think so. I think that would be, let's see, the last time we did it at which site?
We did it here.
Here, so Glendon, we planned for what, 6?
I think we probably should do 6 to 8 because we missed another week if we want to get, are we going to get through them all?
600s?
Yeah.
Well, there's some meeting ones. It would be worthwhile, just, we'll see how far we can get with the 600s, but we're definitely gonna want, some of the, principals at that one, because we're getting into like graduation requirements, and if they're going to change credits at the high school level, we've got a phase in for that one.
Okay.
So-
And I know there is a community ed meeting that same night.
Just put it in the
And
stack.
Bobby is on that committee as well, so said she
Stack
could
keeps getting bigger.
go to that. That's, I think, at 7, but I would rather make sure we have enough time to go over those policies and do it well.
Yeah, that'll
And
be
then
important.
try to go for an hour and then try to go to the community ed if Bobby's willing to go.
6 to 8. I'll send out a meeting request.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. It is 6:53. This meeting is adjourned.